Today I've got professional golfer Jack Webber. Jack, how you doing, bud?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, good, mate. So tell us a little bit about yourself then, with your kind of golf background, how you got started in the game and how you got to where you are now.
Okay, so I started playing golf when I was about 14. And like every kid, like I want to be a professional golfer growing up. And then kind of did a bit of golf at college, took it a bit more seriously, and realised it was what I wanted to do. Then
14's then pretty young then, pretty old, sorry, to get started.
Yeah, I was like a failed footballer, and I was like, play golf, spend a bit more time with my dad, and then I went from there.
Right. Is it just something you picked up naturally then? I mean, you obviously had to be pretty decent from the get-go if you picked up so old.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those things where like I didn't have a lesson for probably 6 to 9 months, and then I kind of went for a lesson. It kind of all just clicked. So it wasn't it was kind of one of those things I kind of just picked up, and I was half decent, and then the harder I worked, the better I got, I suppose.
Right. Were you into other sports as well, or like in college or high school, or not really?
Yeah. Played football, played cricket, and then kind of just as I got more into golf, I kind of just dropped each one off. Like, oh no, I don't do that. I'm playing golf now. So.
Right. And with the cricket then, were you a batter or bowler? I guess maybe if you're a batter, that can kind of help possibly with the technique of golf. I think it's like tennis as well. It's a fairly similar movement, if you like. Yeah.
So like I was all around as like a bit of bowling, a bit of batting. And then I noticed as well, like when I was playing cricket and golf, that like as I was I could never finish my golf swing fully. I'd get to sort of like 3/4 and that was it. I was like, I can't go any further.
Right. So it's kind of like that movement with the bat where yeah. Interesting.
Little hold off draws like Tommy Fleetwood, like I couldn't get any further. I was like, oh, that's me done.
That's pretty interesting, yeah.
And then sort of when I stopped playing cricket, it just seemed a lot easier just to get through it and finish the swing.
Right. And you said you did do a lesson for like 6 to 9 months as well.
Yeah. Literally was just kind of just winging it really, like playing for a bit of fun. And looking back, like how on earth I ever used to hit a golf ball, I have no idea. Like.
Well, I was going to say, like, did you get yourself into like any bad habits or anything by obviously trying to teach yourself before going to a pro?
Yeah, and as well, like it was kind of like little things where I thought sort of like chipping. Like I thought it was really good to have like really like loose knees and like sort of like your knees are swaying as you chipping. I was like, oh yeah, this is silky. And I got on camera. I was like, I look a right idiot. Like, what am I doing there?
Yeah.
Like no sort of like finesse or anything. It was just either like a chunk or a knife, or every now and again it would be like, oh yeah, got that one.
What sort of things was the coach telling you there when you did finally start to get some lessons? Like, were they picking up on anything or like other bad habits as well as that, or
it was mainly kind of just setup and stuff. And it was more kind of like it was very sort of like sloppy. And then like we worked on setup, and then it fixed a lot of my bad habits straight away because it got me more sort of set up athletically rather than just slumped over and just how far left can you swing it and hit a big slice rather than getting through it.
So like what sort of handicap was you at then before you started getting the lessons? What sort of handicap were you at, or were you not really keeping an eye on it?
Not really. I was a junior at the time, so I think I used to start with 54. And I remember I won my first 9-hole event of 54 with something stupid like 36 points through 9 holes or something. So they chopped me down, and then I think I was probably off about 36. I started having lessons, and then flew from 36 to 18 in a year, I think.
Oh wow!
To like 13, and then started doing it at college, and I kind of started taking it more seriously.
So even before you started getting the lessons, then you were competing in tournaments?
Just like local junior stuff that wasn't kind of just club stuff, and
pretty decent though. Like, is that just because you were always pretty competitive, or like what made you go into competitions? Because I mean, it's pretty ballsy, isn't it? Like even me now, I wouldn't really want to get involved in a tournament the way I played. So to do that when you just kind of taught yourself a little bit of how to play, it's pretty ballsy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those things. Like my mates were playing, and like I'm quite competitive, and I was like, I don't want, like if I'm going to play, I want to beat them. I don't want to sort of play and then have to share a car journey home with them and listen to them beating me and going on. So yeah, it's kind of one of those things I kind of picked up as well. Like, I want to be better than you, and just kept driving myself on.
Yeah, and then obviously you made quite a big jump there then with your handicap, as you mentioned. So what were like the noticeable changes for you that got you from, you said you were 36 to a 13 with the lessons and with your coach?
It sounds silly, just my mistakes got smaller. And then because I then have more confidence in my like ability, and I was playing more, it'd be like I stand on the tee, and rather than think, oh, I'm just gonna sort of aim left and hit it hard and see where it goes, I'm like, okay, I'm aiming at that tree. And even like a 13, like you're gonna hit what you're aiming at, say 6 times out of 10, 5 times out of 10. So just by doing that, like aiming small, I then give myself more confidence to be like, okay, like you're then playing against sort of like full grown adults, aren't you? And you're a bit like, okay, like I'm a little kid, I'm going to try and beat you.
Yeah.
So yeah, just a few things like that, really.
Bit of maybe like course management as well. I mean, obviously a lot of amateurs. I mean, it's a good point, because a lot of amateurs, they don't really put much thought into it, do they? Like you said, they kind of just get it on the fairway, and that's really the only goal, and just go from there.
And even like how many amateurs as well, like stand on, let's say, like a par 4, and it could be, I don't know, 350, and they'll just grab their driver, no matter whether there's out of bounds, right, left, water, bunkers.
Yeah, instead of taking like a hybrid off the tee or something, just get it in the fairway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you think to yourself, sort of like 1 in 2, 2 in 10, they're gonna hit the fairway. But then how many times will it go offline, end up like in a bunker in a tree, and then you sort of not make bogeys, not your worst score. You're then looking at sort of like your doubles and your triples and stuff.
Yeah, so, that's a good point. So then as you got to that kind of 13 handicap then, so like since then, how have you progressed since then? Like where are you at now? What are you sort of playing off? I know you're professional, but what's your kind of score that you tend to get on an average round?
So I turned pro off +1. And then sort of like I've not played much lately, but before, like I was playing with my mates, it's kind of I went for a spell sort of May to late June. Majority of stuff was kind of like between like 3 under and 1 over. Like it kind of was good, consistent stuff. And that was just because I was playing loads and sort of going out and thinking stuff, I want to shoot this, I want to shoot that. And I think like if you're playing with people with like same sort of ability or like better, you're then going to think to yourself like, oh, I want to beat them, like I want to be like them.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what's it like with your mates now? Are they kind of got to a similar level? Like obviously you used to play together, and you were saying how you want to beat them. Are they all got better as well, or is it just too easy for you now?
Now, to be like all the lads the majority of, so I've kind of got like the lads I'm closest with are all kind of, I've got a couple of mates that are pros, one lad off 1, a lad off +1, so it's kind of like we're quite a close group. So when you're going out there, you're gonna sometimes like you could shoot 3 under and lose, and that's kind of just like a tough thing. But then at the same time, like I've got sort of like a few of the older guys that I grew up playing against, I'll still play now, and they're off 12, 13, 14. And like I'll go away on trips where I could be playing with 28 handicappers. It's one of those, like I think that's a good thing about golf. It doesn't matter what you play off, or the handicap system's there for a reason.
Sure, that's good then. So it still manages it to keep it like competitive for you, doesn't it?
Yeah, like whether you're giving someone no shots or 10 shots, that you're still playing to shoot lowest score.
Against somebody, sure. And what sort of things are you doing now then, apart from with mates? You said you're not playing for a while, but are you tending to play in like just local competitions, or are you playing throughout the UK, or what do you normally do when you are playing?
So I've just moved up to Surrey. So I'm now at Camber Heath Golf Club, so top 100 golf club. So I've kind of just settled in, my feet comfortable. So I'm now looking to play like TP Tour, Clutch Tour, bit of Jamega, and then sort of I've got some PGA stuff coming up as well, and just see where we go from there. And I think it's one of those, and the sky's the limit.
So can you already automatically qualify for these then, or is any of them where you need to do a qualifier for the tours?
So the majority of the stuff, literally just enter it and you're in. If you were going to go sort of Euro Pro, then you'd have to go Q School, or they've just started doing Monday qualifiers, which seem to be supported well. I think it's like, say it's 75 per 20, then you get that money for your entry fee. So
yeah,
if you qualify.
So the goals, are you just going to maybe enter all of those and just try and play as much as you can? Or, I mean, I spoke to Matt Roberts the other week, and he's playing on the Jamega Tour, and he's hoping to turn pro soon, and he speaks pretty highly of that tour. So I don't know, like, have you got a preference of which one you're going to play, or just kind of play a little bit of each one and see how it goes?
Probably a little bit of each one. Like, they all kind of play different parts of like the country, different courses, and like if you're playing on different stuff against different people, you don't get comfortable. You're always pushing for more. And I think, like, I saw an interview with McElroy the other day, and he was like, if I got a tip for anyone who wants to make it, you need to play against people that are better than you.
Sure. Yeah.
So I think that's the thing, that like, if you could play badly one week, but then push yourself further, and then it all click next week, and then suddenly you've got a win and you're flying.
Well, again, like you touched on the competitive stuff before, I think it's a good point, right? You'd rather be not the big fish in a small pond. You'd want to be pushing yourself all the time to get better, wouldn't you?
Yeah, exactly. There's I think that's the thing, that like, if you're that big fish, you can only grow so big.
Sure.
If you're in a small pond, whereas if you then branch out and you're in a bigger pond, the world's your oyster.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're gonna, like you said, you're gonna be playing not only against people, but you're gonna be in groups of players that are better than you, and you're literally gonna be able to get a free watch of them going around a course, and probably how they think. You can have chats with them and see how they go about their game, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know. So a couple of years ago, I played with a lad that played. Used to play a bit on Challenge Tour, and like Europe and stuff, and like playing with him opened my eyes to like a different side of golf. I kind of always been a bit like, oh yeah, just rock up, whack it, go find it.
Sure.
And chatting to him, it's just like everything he does is so sort of like perfect. So he goes through his full routine and nothing changes from anything. And then we sort of chatted a bit about aim point, and then through there I learned about that. Whereas if I'd never played with him, I wouldn't have got that knowledge and experience. Yeah.
Well, I think that those kind of conversations are brilliant. I mean, I watch a lot of it on the TV with like TaylorMade. They do some great content, and they'll have like Jason Day and McElroy and Matt Wolf and all those kind of guys that are on TaylorMade, and they'll literally just do a session, like 5-6 of them in the bunker or chipping, and they're having this conversation that's going on for like an hour, and like there's literally nothing more valuable than those kind of conversations.
Yeah. Did you see the one where they were talking to Tiger and they were like, oh, what do you feel when you chip? And he was like, just everything.
Yeah, I did. That's actually the one I'm talking about, where they're all in the bunker, right? I think Jason Day was there, him, and I think Morikawa was there. I can't remember now, but yeah, I've seen that one. It's class content. So, I mean, so have you played on any of these tours before then? Have you entered any and played some events, or is this going to be all kind of first time doing it with the Jamega Tour and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, first time. Like, I've caddied for my mate a few times. Yeah, I caddied for my friend a couple of times, and it's kind of, I kind of feel like it's helped me because I've experienced what it's like. I know kind of what I'm looking to shoot, that mindset you need to be in, and it's not kind of just a jolly at your mates. It's you're going there to earn money. It's your job. Yeah.
So everything before, like up until now, has always been maybe like amateur competitions then.
Yeah. Amateur stuff, playing with mates, just club competitions.
So what do you think maybe the sort of differences are that you just mentioned there then between going from that amateur to being able to play in these tours? Like what have you tried to maybe change either in your game with your swing, etc., or your way of thinking? What have you tried to change to adapt to that, or start to adapt to it?
So I think it's all like everything. So like from fitness to the way I eat on the golf course. Do you know what I mean? Like before, I'd have like sausage roll, can of Coke, halfway up and I'm good. Whereas now I'm thinking to myself like, oh, like I need to drink water the whole way around, keep myself like hydrated. Am I eating the right stuff? Am I just scoffing a chocolate bar before like I'm going to crash after 3 holes?
Sure.
So stuff like that. My practice has changed. I'm very much more sort of not regimented, but it's much more sort of like game based. So like, how many people do you see go to the range? They'll just pick up driver and they're trying to hit it as hard as they can.
Sure.
Like no idea where it's going.
Exactly, yeah.
So I spend a lot more time, like if I'm on the range, I'm sort of working on sort of like drills and swing thoughts. But then I think it's really important when you leave that range to go onto the course, you're free. So one thing I worked on my coach is drawing like a line. So my pre-shot routine and stuff's behind this line. And then when I get within 3 foot of the ball, that's it. Like I'm just focused on my shot, my target. And that seems to have helped me, because before I'd stand over it, like, right, what am I doing?
Yeah, I think when I speak to a lot of people that are either in a similar position, or for example, they've maybe gone from like the Jamega Tour to something like the European Tour, and a lot of them all talk about the short game and how important that is as well. Because I mean, a great point there, what you're talking about, and it's normally amateur golfers that do it, but I imagine maybe some professionals did it and now they don't, but it's what you're actually doing when you're practicing. And a lot of them talk about the importance of short game and putting, because that's probably where you spend the majority of your shots during a round. So yeah, I mean, maybe something else, like another area to be focusing on, no?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think so. The head pro where I work is like a really good golfer, like played for England and stuff. And we were chatting the other day, and there's a couple holes at the golf club I'm at where you could sort of hit driver and get it up close and chip on. And we were chatting about stuff, and I was like, "Oh, what do you hit off this tee?" And he was like, 5-iron. And I was thinking, like, why? And he was like, "You're not going to go to every golf course and be able to drive, like, knock it near a green." He was like, "If you can go somewhere and you can wedge it close from 60 yards," he was like, "that's how you're going to save your pars, save your birdies."
Yeah.
He was like, and that's kind of the mindset you need to be in, is dial your wedges in. So it's kind of, I think it's one of those that I think each level you go up, you just need to be more precise and dialed in.
And you mentioned you did a little bit of caddy work for your mate as well. I mean, maybe that'll kind of help out as well. I imagine caddies have to look at the game completely different from the player. So, I mean, like, how do you think that might help you? Or have you not got that much experience with the caddying side?
You know, like I've done quite a bit for him. I think it's one of those, like, I think you're either in that position mindset to be a caddy or you're not.
Sure.
Like, I did it from Walton Heath, and we're stood there looking at like sort of flags. So I'm there like, I really want to play this shot. And then I found it really hard to like switch between either like how I'd play it and how he's going to play it. And like sort of distance control and stuff, but like he's my best mate, so it kind of made things easier.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I think it's one of those, isn't it? Like, if you need to have that mindset of, okay, I'm going to do this, but then I think like just chatting to people and find out a bit more about them and how they go about their game. I think as well, like, if you're going to handle yourself in the correct way, it's going to make things easier.
Yeah. I mean, are you somebody that like really looks into the analytics of your swing and your distances and all that? Will you go back and watch your swing, and will you want to know all like the really specific details with distances, stuff like that? Or do you try and find a balance?
Yeah, a bit of both. Like if I'm going to do a bit of swing work, it's proper, like I'll focus on it and be like, okay, I want to get here, here, here. But then like, I'm not someone who will go, okay, I'm going to go to the range for 3 hours rather than go and play. Like, if I'm comfortable in how I'm swinging it, I'll be on the course 90% of the time.
Yeah.
But then like, if it's going bad, like I'll be on the range filming it, being like, okay, why is it going bad? So I think it's quite important to understand why you hit bad shots. Like, is it a bad swing? Is it poor alignment? Is it a mental error? Like, I've played with so many amateurs that all like set up to the ball, and like their feet are aiming so far left, and they'll then hit one left, and they'll be like, "Oh, I pulled it," and then aim further right, and you're like, "You've literally just hit it where you're aiming." Sure. And all of a sudden, they're aiming from like left to right, and they literally have no idea what's going on here.
Yeah, and they might think it's something to do with, I don't know, how they come across the body or whatever, when the whole time it's actually their feet, and they start changing that they don't need to.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden their heads scramble, and they're like, okay, well that never happens. You're like, you're lining up wrong. So yeah, I think it's more just a bit of, if you get your basics right, you're halfway there, aren't you? Yeah,
for sure. And so you said then you've got some PGA stuff coming up as well. So like, what is the ultimate kind of goal and plan for you? Is it playing on the European tour, like, or would you want to go play on the PGA? I mean, or are you just taking it step by step for now?
Yeah, a bit step by step, really. I mean, I think sort of ultimate dream is to be on the European tour, the PGA tour, playing and contending majors, but I know I'm a long way off, and I know it's going to be a lot of hard work to get there. But I think it's kind of just enjoying the learning process and getting better.
Yeah. How old are you at the moment then?
25. Yeah, I'd think about that now.
Yeah, so you still got plenty of time to get there.
Yeah, so I saw a fact the other day actually. So the average age to get on tour is 28, but the average age to turn pro is 20. So in theory, that's 8 years.
Well, it's quite a mixture in golf, isn't it? I mean, with the Americans, you get some of these college players that are coming on now that are early 20s and they're just, they're mega. But as you said there, you do also get people that come on mid 20s or even at 30 years old. I'm trying to think of examples now, but I definitely know it's happened where somebody's come on tour like pretty late and still got on to win.
Yeah, exactly. And like, it's one of those things that everyone kind of blooms at different stages. Like you look at your Morikawa and I saw actually the other day, he lost in the playoff on some tour when he was like 16 or something. And now like he's probably the most informed player in the world right now.
Yeah, I mean, he was an amateur 2 years ago, was it?
Yeah. So I think
pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it is 2 years because it was after the Open, isn't it? That's what he said, that he was only an amateur a couple of years ago, and he was saying that to that amateur that finished top, the German guy. So you only have to take stories like that as a inspiration, isn't it? But so how do you think your game would kind of fit to, let's say, if you did play in the European Tour? Then, like, have you got much experience playing outside of the UK, or for now is it kind of all UK courses that you've been playing on in tournaments?
So I go to Portugal sort of like before COVID. I was there probably 3 or 4 times a year playing.
Oh, cool. Whereabouts on the Algarve?
Yeah. So
nice.
a few down the bottom. And I think kind of, it sounds silly because it's all grass, but like you get there and you're a bit like even just like a simple chip just reacts so much differently. Or like you hit a ball out of fairway and you're like, okay, that's sort of like span more than I thought. Or it's just, I think it's a lot of learning. So I think like I've played like Spain, Portugal and stuff. So I feel like I've played abroad enough to be a bit like, okay, so I'm not going over there thinking this is just English golf. But like it is a lot different than what people think. What about yourself? You played abroad?
Yeah, not when I was kind of at a decent level, but I've also actually been to Portugal a lot. My family's got a house out there, so we also spend a lot of time out there, kind of similar actually, 4 or 5 times a year. So yeah, I played a lot in Portugal and quite a lot in Mexico. I've been living there since 3 months ago now. But yeah, so I agree. I mean, that it is a complete difference because I've come back this time being a much better golfer than I was when I left England, and just kind of almost like realizing again how hard UK golf courses can be, because I've been out in Mexico for a while and before that Portugal, and although it is still tough, it's not quite, in my opinion, as hard as like the link style and the style we have there, here in the UK. So I almost kind of got to like relive that experience of what it was like.
I think like links golf's one of those, isn't it? Like it can beat you up and you could easily shoot sort of like 7 over par and not put a foot wrong.
Yeah.
Like you kind of hit a shot in and like you get a dodgy bounce one that kind of kicks through or kicks a different way and like you're making double from nowhere.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of it, isn't it? I mean, I've heard all these debates over the last few weeks about whether the Open's better or the Masters is better, but for me, it has to be the Open. I think that's, like how golf should be played for sure.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. Do you watch much golf yourself, or are you kind of just really into playing it? But are you somebody that'll get home and then also watch the golf all weekend as well, or not so much?
Yeah, no, I think I literally do my girlfriend's head in. Like, we'll be laid there like golf's on TV all the time. I think got to the stage now where she's entering into like Instagram competitions, everything. It's brilliant.
Class. Is she into it herself though, or is she just kind of dealing with it for you?
Just dealing with me. Like she'll go to the driving range. Do you heard of Top Golf?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were there the other night, and like she's always sort of like using my clubs, and there's like a lady's 9-iron there, and so she's picked it up, teed it up, and like she's whacked this 9-iron, and I'm watching it like that is not right. That's gone too far, and it's pinged up saying like she's carried it like 98 yards. Wow. I was like, where has that come from? Like. And sort of she's probably picks up a club like once a month.
Wow. Maybe she's a natural as well then.
Yeah, I'll be asking her for lessons.
Yeah. So what sort of things are you like when you watch it on TV? Like, are you you just trying to enjoy it? Or are you somebody that will also just kind of like, are you watching what the players are doing and having a look at their swings, or do you not really like to focus too much on what other people do in terms of their actual swing?
A bit of both. Like, if someone's swinging it well, like I'll appreciate their swing and look at like, yeah, like they're swinging it well. I spend a lot of time looking at how people like handle themselves on the golf course. So someone like a Rich Mansell, I don't know if you know him on the European Tour.
Yeah.
The way he kind of like handles stuff is just like, yeah, I'm here to win. Like quite sort of confident in his ability. And like I can be quite sort of like shy and doubt myself. Whereas if I could get a bit of that in my game, so I kind of like watch stuff like that and be a bit like, okay, that's what I need to bring to my game.
I mean, that's interesting then. I mean, like, because you obviously were talking about how competitive you are, but then at the same time you're not shy, but like maybe a little bit, I don't know what the right word would be if it is shy.
Shy is probably the word.
Would you have that kind of like fighting spirit, or you think that's something that you need to add to the game maybe?
I think like I've got the fighting spirit. I think it's more of like if I walk into a situation which I'm like, I don't really know, I'm kind of a bit like, I'm one of those where I'll just keep my head down.
Right. Okay.
Like, and I know what I can do, but sometimes like I won't back myself to do it until I start. Like if I played an event and I'm a bit nervous walking into it, I'll be quiet on the putting green, quiet on the practice ground. And then like I could just stand on the first tee, rip one down the middle and I'm fine.
Yeah.
So it's quite
interesting.
A weird one.
And how's your game like at the moment? Obviously, we talked when you first kind of started the whole chipping thing and all that, but what's kind of like the good parts and the bad parts of your game at the moment, do you feel?
I'm putting well at the moment. And like I'm driving it well. I think I can kind of tidy up my iron play. And then I'm working hard on my wedges. So it's one of those where when it all clicks, I'm flying, but it's kind of making those off days not as bad.
Sure. And like, will you be doing the kind of person that goes through like a lot of drills with your coach, or is it more just a bit of an analysis of what you're doing and then just hitting balls? Or will you do like a lot of like specific drills to try and improve stuff?
Yeah. So I started working with a new coach last winter.
Okay.
And kind of before then I'd been a bit like, just swing it back and just hit a big high ropey draw and see how far it goes. Whereas now it's kind of much more focused on like hit it, like how straight can I hit it? So we've got a few drills in place where like it's just little checkpoints. It takes me sort of 10 minutes to do.
Okay.
So sort of stuff like that doesn't take me very long. But it's one of those where like I'm quite happy just to sit with a camera behind me and just record and then check every 5 minutes how it's going.
Sure. And on the course itself, like what sort of player are you? Are you somebody that's, like picking out specific targets, or like when let's say you're driving, are you picking out a specific target, a specific tree, or are you just like, what's your kind of thought process going through every shot and every hole?
So if I'm playing like loads and loads of golf and it's just feeling natural, I'll literally just walk up to it and be like, okay, so like it's a back left pin, I want to hit like a low draw into it, so I'll just aim at the middle of the green and just hit a draw. If I feel like I've not played for say like a week or so, I'll walk onto each hole and be like, okay, like just trying to narrow my focus down. So like, okay, I'm going to hit that tree with a fade. And I think because otherwise I'll stand there and just be a bit like, okay, there's a fairway, just whack it.
Yeah.
And if you're in for a bit, you had to say aim small, miss small.
Sure.
Yeah, so like sometimes I can be the opposite and I'll just aim at the fairway and I'm missing sort of like 20 yards right, and I'm like, what is going on here?
Yeah, I mean, does the kind of caddy of you come out a little bit in terms of, are you ever tempted to kind of walk, like if you were doing a competition, maybe are you going to be walking the course first and having a look at all the little details of every hole, or would you not go that much into it?
So I played in a few events last year and we got down there the day before, walked the course with a wedge and a putter. And so I think stuff like that's really beneficial. I'm not really someone that would, if I was playing a practice round, I wouldn't score. I'd stand on each tee and hit sort of like a driver and a free wood. Okay, where does that get me? Is there a bunker down there? How deep's it? Am I avoiding that, missing it right, sort of thing? Then I'll hit a couple of balls from the fairway and be like, okay, like just into the middle of the green as well, like not chasing pins.
Yes, it's interesting. I was listening to Justin Thomas interview, and he was saying that during practice rounds, as well as like pro-ams, anything like that, the actual percentage of energy level he gives is basically nothing, because he doesn't want to take anything bad into the actual round, whether it's that weekend or the next weekend. So like even a practice round, if he's got a putt for birdie, he sometimes just won't take it. He'll just pick the ball up because he doesn't want to experience missing that putt before he then goes into the round. I found that quite interesting, and never really heard of people kind of talk about it like that before.
I think as well, like it's little things like if you're playing on your home course, I suppose you've probably got a hole that is your least favorite hole. So, and you probably find that when you stand on that tee, you'll be like, oh, it's this hole again. And if you're playing for like millions of pounds, you don't want to be standing on that tee thinking, oh, I made bogey here in the practice round. It's not important.
Sure. It's a bit more like the mental side coming into it as well then.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that kind of just comes down to, like, I know people play like money matches and practice rounds and stuff. And like, I think if you're having like a second or third practice round, that's really good. Yeah. But I think if you're going to see it for the first time, there's no point really, if you're there to map out a course, you're either going to bomb driver everywhere or just lay back of everything and not sort of see the whole course.
Yeah.
So I think it's a bit of both really.
Yeah. Well, listen, Jack, it's been class to meet you and class talking about you. So with these tournaments then, like any sort of idea of when we can see you entering these tournaments, or have you not got anything absolutely in concrete yet?
So I'm looking to play TP Tour on the 11th of August. Okay. And then there's a Jamega, literally probably 10 minutes down the road from me, in about 3 weeks. Okay, cool. At Royal Ascot, so I'm looking to play in that as well.
Oh, awesome, man. All right, well, I'll keep a lookout for you and let everybody know. For anybody that wants to find you on social and check out your content, stuff like that, where can they keep up with you?
So I'm Weber Jack on Instagram, Weber Jack 1 on Twitter, and then Jack Weber Golf Professional on Facebook.
Class. Awesome, man. Well, great to talk to you. Appreciate your time.
Cheers. Thanks for having me.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.